What came out of the briefing?
Let me just give you an idea as to what had happened over the past hour. We had the Finance Minister, Gigaba, outlining with very firm deadlines a 14-point plan to revive this economy. You know that we are sitting in a recession at the moment. We've got unemployment at close to 28%. So essentially this plan was outlined to try and revive the economy, to try and get it out of its subdued state, and also try and impress investors and ratings agencies alike to see if we can draw that investment into the country. Well, let's just find out now whether or not that 14-point plan was impressive or not. Analyst Chris Gilmore is with me. It had firm deadlines and it had responsibilities allocated to particular departments. Did you hear anything strikingly new in this plan?
No, not at all, Devan. And that's what disappointed me profoundly. I came here and we said earlier that with great expectations that we're going to see something very profound, very different, something that will take us from the depths of the recession into something that more closely approximates maybe 3 to 6% economic growth, perhaps in the distant future. And it reminds me of an old quote that's been widely attributed to Einstein, saying that what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And basically what I'm seeing here is very much business as usual. All we're doing is pegging timelines to it and accountability, and that's good. I mean, I think we must give the Minister credit for that. And of course he can be hoisted by his own petard as we go down over the next year or so. But nevertheless, it was devoid, in my humble opinion, of the kind of profound and radical steps that I think need to be taken to get us out of this slough of gloom and despondency.
Mm-hmm. He did, however, touch on some issues with SOEs, SAA in particular, the ailing airline, talking about the possibility of non-core assets being sold off. An audit will be done, he says, to identify those assets. Then a little bit of a breakdown in terms of the action of the airline. We have the CEO that's pinpointed. He says that will be announced soon. He's been through that. Are you still skeptical about the detail, at least, as far as SAA is concerned?
Just before we get to SAA, I can remember in Nene, when he was finance minister, talking about precisely what you just mentioned, having an audit of non-core assets, and there are something like over 700 of them. So I think that's long overdue, and maybe we give him credit for that. Maybe we can actually see something materializing there. On SAA specifically, we were saying offline, SAA is geographically hindered. What I mean by that is an end-of-the-line airline. People do not come here with the express intent of going vastly different parts of Africa. And they do with other African airlines like Ethiopian and Kenya, which are better placed, shall we say, geographically. So I think SAA starts off with a major problem from that perspective. If I go back into the mists of time, there was a fellow American chappie called Coleman Andrews, who was supposed to be a turnaround specialist. Well, he was nothing of the kind, and he left with a huge, big pay packet after 2 or 3 years of a fairly ignominious tenure at the airline. So we don't know who the new CEO is, and the minister said it's going to be somebody who's got good turnaround experience. Well, I hope it's not somebody along the lines of the person I just mentioned.
We heard something very small about small business and the fact that it needs to be supported there. Were you convinced that, because ideally small business, as we've been told over and over again, is where the jobs lies, where the creation of employment lies. Are you happy with that little tidbit that we heard?
Look, it was encouraging, it's nice, and as you rightly say, Devan, small business all over the world is the area that creates jobs and creates opportunities. Large companies at this point in time all around the world are busy cutting jobs to try and become more efficient. So anything that tries to promote that is very, very welcome indeed. Does it have enough detail to get enthusiastic about it? Unfortunately not.
Right. Just a very quick question about the whole growth scenario. 1.3% initially mentioned at the year. We've seen local institutions, especially banks, putting their forecast around about 0.5%. We're in a recessionary environment. Are you convinced that we can at least get out of recession, never mind get even past 1% growth this year?
Look, I suppose purely from a base effect perspective, we may see us escaping from recession this year. But there are certain other economists who are suggesting that we may, for the year as a whole, be in recession as well. And what I've heard today, frankly, doesn't inspire me with a lot of confidence.
Just your quick prediction on what we can see for growth this year?
I think we'll be very lucky to see much more than about 0.2, 0.3.
All right, Chris Gilmore, analyst, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And that's where we wrap it up at the JSE.